Little preamble here first. Violet is sick, so a lot of talking is going to be happening from this end of the camera. So if you don't like that, feel free to turn on subtitles and ignore my voice. Right. It's time for the Epic NPC fight. The Epic NPC!
That's better.
The original intention of this video was going to be to have a chat about how to beat the Epic NPC fight without a boss, because much like the... how to beat the NPC fight without a bot. And look, frankly, I'm going to be honest here. Use a freaking assist bot, and until Slash gets sorted out, don't bother trying it, because it doesn't work. You go to eat the godly cookie and nothing happens. Also, the fight is incredibly, and I really can't stress this enough, incredibly difficult. And if you make one wrong move, you die. Let's talk about preparation and getting ready to do the Epic NPC fight, because if you thought you needed to do prep early for 15.1 and 15.2, you're talking at least 10 TTs in advance, because you need to collect your Time Dragon Essence. To collect your Time Dragon Essence, obviously you need to be doing 15.2 runs, which we have helpfully mentioned in a previous video.
Yes.
You'll need your 10 Dragon Essences to craft your Godly. You need to do your Godly loot box starts, unless you get extremely lucky and have a Godly loot box drop, which is what prompted me to actually get my fight started. And this one has had 4 of and can't use them.
I'm doing my ultra run now, okay? Get over it.
And that ties back into coolness. Now, coolness run. We originally said for 15.2 that you could do it with 2,000 coolness, and that still stands. You can absolutely do it. However, for the Epic NPC fight, we are now recommending 3,000 as a minimum. And this is because Phase 6 has a requirement of how much coolness you have gives you an RNG result, which we'll go into when we talk about the fight strat. So that should get you your TDE and your coolness sorted. Then there's the pets.
Mm-hmm.
For the mid-phase of the fight, Phase 4, you need to have 4 Tier 10 pets. And ideally, they must all have Epic. If you can't arrange that, then the other legitimate setup is that you could have 3 Tier 10 pets with Epic, and 1 of those with Epic can have TT. However, that's only in a pinch, and I really wouldn't be doing it personally because the amount of tracking you'd have to do, and if you accidentally send the non-epic pet during the fight, you're boned.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's the pre-getting ready for the fight.
Yeah.
And that all sort of has to happen before you actually get on to doing your fight run. When you get to the actual TT you're going to do the fight on, you will need to start with a Godly, obviously, because you're going to need to go through 15.2 and get to the top, because the NPC is in the top. You will need to have 10 million logs at a minimum to sell during the fight. Some people say 15. I sold 10 and it went fine, but you must not have anything else in your inventory. It's you sell all your logs during the fight, not before. Otherwise, you'll fuck yourself. And before the fight, it's beneficial if you just get rid of everything else. You get rid of all your rubies, your apples, bananas, fish. You keep your super fish, you keep your ultimate logs, you keep your watermelons, and you keep your farm stuff. You get rid of all your mob drops. And you'll need to make a decision as well about, are you going to go to Area 16 afterwards? Which, when you complete the fight, you get a epic jump. An epic jump is the only way to access the void areas. So you have to make a decision. Are you just going to waste that epic jump and potentially those 3 TDE? Is Area 16 even open? Yeah. You need to make that decision, because if you're going to go to Area 16 after the fight, then you need to start by cooking your stats before the fight. And this is stats for Area 16, by the way. Stats of 2250 attack, 1750 defense, and you'll need to grind superfish. The one other thing that you need for the fight itself is at least 10,000 health, and preferably 20,000. I did it with 15,000. Tiny bit sketchy in terms of how quickly your health goes down, but you got plenty of time. Takes about 20 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds to run out of health.
That doesn't seem like a long period of time.
It's not a long period of time, but if you just sort of remember to heal every few commands, you're right, you're fine. The fight strategy. Now, big, massive credits and thank you and everything else, not only to everybody that worked on the fight throughout the development period on Nexus, but more specifically to Platano and Nanachito for walking me through the fight step by step. And to Necromancer, of course, for developing the practice tool in Pogbot, without which I would have never felt comfortable to even think about trying this as a challenge.
No.
So, the fight logic. Phase 1. This is entirely scripted. You dodge when the turn is not prime, and you punch when the turn is prime. You are going to need a list of prime numbers, and frankly, you want it somewhere prominent. You also want to remember that 1 is in fact not prime, and 2 is prime. Because those first two steps, they'll fuck you. They'll fuck you. Okay. Phase 2 runs from 89 to 65 hit points. The NPC decides to run away and start attacking you from either side. This is no longer just a straight brawl. So the NPC could be approaching from the left or from the right. So you must now dodge when the turn is prime or a multiple of 50. You must dodge when the NPC is approaching from the left and the turn is odd. You must dodge when the NPC is approaching from the right and the turn is even. You must punch when the NPC is approaching from the left and the turn is even, and you must punch when the NPC is approaching from the right and the turn is odd but not prime. What this all boils down to is that left and even is always good to punch, right and odd is maybe good to punch if not prime. Otherwise you're dodging. That's pretty much the only thing you need to remember, because everything else boils down to complicated, you forget stuff.
He's a bot.
Phase 3 then begins. Now, after beating the snot out of the NPC enough that he sort of weakens, he hops on his mammoth. You jump on your horse and start chasing him. This is a simpler phase. This is kind of a warm-up for how things go in Phase 5. You must now dodge when the turn is prime or multiple. You must now dodge when the turn is prime or a multiple of 50. You must accelerate when the NPC is not close to the player, and then once you are next to the NPC, you must punch. You cannot punch on a prime or multiple of 50. So if the NPC is next to you and it's prime or multiple of 50, you still have to dodge. I've watched people die to this, even with the bot.
Mm-hmm.
Comprende?
Comprende.
Okay. Phase 4. Now we're into my favourite bit of the fight, actually. This is the whole thing that inspired this entire fucking process. 29 to 10 HP. The NPC says, well, we agreed to fight without swords and armour, because of course you ate your godly cookie to start the fight and you didn't have any armour equipped. So we agreed to fight without swords and armour, but fuck you, have a rocket launcher. Starts firing rockets with skulls and pet symbols on them and tries to kill you very, very vigorously with rockets. This is where you go, I've got fighter pets. They can help me. So you start getting your poor pets out, pull them out, and send them to intercept these rockets. Meanwhile...
Poor pets.
Meanwhile, you catch and return a rocket to throw it back at the NPC. So this happens over 29 to 10 HP. Again, you are dodging every time the turn is prime or a multiple of 50. And you cannot dodge unless you have the same number of pets out as rockets launched by the NPC. Mm-hmm. So 2 rockets in, 2 pets out. 3 rockets in, but you have 4 pets out, bring 1 pet in. And then you only have 3 pets out. So it has to be the same number of pets out at that moment.
Yeah.
Same number of pets to dodge, one less pet than number of rockets to return. Once you eventually whittle the NPC down to 10 HP, he falls off his horse.
Well, he's mammoth.
He falls off his mammoth, yes, you're right. And ascends, essentially. He starts vibrating so fast that you can no longer see him. Starts hitting you from all directions, and your only answer is to drop those 10 million logs that you've been carrying that have been weighing you down so that you can finally move fast enough to not just die. Because this is the only way you're going to be able to dodge the NPC's attacks. So, now you're losing health over time due to injuries. You have to sell your 10 million logs. You must use heal every time your health goes below 10k is sort of a good metric. And there is a lot of dodging because now the NPC is moving so fast.
Yeah.
So fast. So now it's dodge when the turn is prime or 50, as before, but also dodge when the turn is even.
Ooh.
You can only approach when the turn is odd and the NPC is not close to the player, and you must punch when the turn is odd and the NPC is next to the player.
Right.
And the turn is not prime. This is what killed me, with 3 HP remaining.
Yeah.
So, what it ends up being in Phase 5 is that every turn except for an odd non-prime is dodge.
Yeah.
And then an odd non-prime is make the decision between approach or punch, depending on where you're at on the map. And make sure you're paying attention to the map.
You forgot to pay attention to that.
I did. I got a little bit excited. I was cheering my victory celebration before I'd actually won.
Yeah.
But it may not have mattered anyway, because Phase 6 is RNG.
Yes, this is the one that took up until relatively recently, actually.
It didn't get solved.
Yeah.
It actually didn't get solved. It ended up being that Loom ended up revealing the solution.
Yeah.
Because there was a coding issue in the RNG. And so, oh boy. Phase 6, 1 HP remaining. You're still losing health over time, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can still die if you don't heal before you do this. There are 2 options. You can punch or you can dodge. If you dodge, you will die. There is an achievement for dodging in Phase 6 and dying.
Yeah.
It's called You Fool!
Fair.
So, the only option really is punch. And pray to RNG, because Phase 6 is based around your coolness.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 2,000 coolness, you have a 75% chance of winning on your punch in Phase 6. If you have 3,000, you have about an 88% chance. And if you have 4,000, you have about a 95% chance. So it's kind of choose your RNG for Phase 6. Mm-hmm. If it's going to take you 2 months to grind out 4,000 coolness, is that worth it compared to the chance of just taking another shot at the fight at 87% or 85%? Yeah. There is a very good chance, even at 4,000 coolness, that I might lose this fight. Now, having told you the strat, the best way to track everything and to make sure that you don't accidentally screw up is a method that was told to me by Platano, and he has actually used successfully to help somebody when the bot failed.
Yep.
And the best approach is just to write the turn number and what the move is going to be before you send the command to the bot.
Yeah.
It's still very, very, very easy to screw something up. Anyway. Damn it! So,
that was the fight.
That was the fight, and I lost.
You did.
And it was pretty heartbreaking.
It was. I was down the hallway with the kids and trying to get them to sleep, and they were a bit worried about Daddy.
Yeah, and I mean, fair enough. I did nearly throw my laptop through the window. That was a pretty epic rage out, and...
Yep.
Anyway, so what now? Well, I'm not giving up, obviously. I know a lot of people have quit the game over losing the NPC fight, and I don't blame them, but I am not giving up.
You're way too stubborn to quit because of that.
Yeah.
You talked about it for all of about 30 seconds.
Yep. And then I put my plan into action, which was my plan for if I had failed due to a Phase 6 RNG anyway.
Yeah.
Which is to pump up some coolness. I actually initially tried the fight with 2200 coolness. So I bumped that up to 2500, and I'm regrinding some time essence as we record this at the moment.
Yes.
So I'm working on my first TDE, so it's going to be a few weeks before I get to have another go. But I am going to try it again. And when I win, there will be another fight video with the alternative song, because we had 2 songs picked.
We did. We always knew there was a chance that you would lose.
Yep. So we actually did have 2 songs picked out for this fight. And at some point, you will get to see the fight with all of the effects and glory and everything that I had originally envisaged in my head.
Yeah.
Because, okay, that was kind of cool, but
that's just the start.
I have things I want to do. So that will come eventually. That might be a Christmas thing. So I'm not going to try and push editing that one quite as hard as I've pushed this one. Now, that leaves us with what do we do from here? Well, once I clear the EPIC NPC fight, I can obviously start making content about the Void.
Yes.
Awesome. But we're also aware that at this point we're kind of leaving the early TTs behind in our channel videos, and there's a lot of videos that we made early on that were a bit waffly. And it would be nice to redo some of those. So if you've got any suggestions for videos you'd like to see done more succinctly, more coherently, more lengthily, adding... I've had people comment that they'd like some of the graphics to be up a little bit longer on the screen. Feel free to leave a message on Discord or drop a comment on this video, or there's a few ways of reaching us.
Yep.
And don't forget that we've now got a Patreon and, of course, our LiberaPay account.
Yes.
Because spending all that time editing the video, I kind of didn't do any work, so,
Yeah, our colours are looking a little faded.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been MT.
I'm the Violet Bombshell.
We will catch you later.
Bye.